The People's Coach Q&A, you get to see it right here firsthand. Any questions that you guys have, please put them in the comments below. Enjoy the video. We're inside Slingshot World Headquarters. We're in the media room. You can see I got some of the editing stuff behind me over here. And just answering some questions. I'm answering some questions on Instagram. First of all, I appreciate everybody that's been subscribing to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this information out. Really important to me. And I know it's important to you. And so let's spread the word and let's get this information out there. I'm answering really any questions that people want to throw at me. But you can put your own questions in the comments below on this YouTube video, and I'll get to those questions as well. Maybe I'll do my own separate video for them, or maybe we'll start to do some live YouTube stuff. Not sure yet, but I'll answer some questions here. How many rest days do you have in an average week? I would say I probably average out to be about one. There's probably one day a week where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not really gonna do a lot. I'm just gonna like walk. And that kind of includes everything. That goes all the way through on everything. That goes through on work. That goes through on training. I'll have a day where I try to spend some of the day with myself, and I try to, pretty much for the rest of the day, I try to spend with my family. So let's just say that it's a random hump day. Say it's a random Wednesday, right? If it's a random Wednesday, I'll look at the calendar on Tuesday and see what's going on. If I don't need to be in the office and we don't have any guests and I don't have a podcast to do, I'll pre-plan in my head. I'll say, okay, tomorrow it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. I'm going to wake up at 5:30 rather than waking up at 3 or 3:30. I'm going to wake up a little bit later, get a little bit of extra rest. I'm going to cook for my kids in the morning, see them off to school, spend a bunch of time with myself, or maybe grab some lunch with my wife. And then the rest of that day is going to be committed to just kind of kicking it with the family. But that's rest and restoration for me. And that's enough recovery that will catapult, that will slingshot me through the rest of the week. And I'll be good for another 7 days to go as hard as I want. But when it comes to strength training, I personally feel that you can train every single day. I think a lot has been made of like, oh, you need to rest. You really grow outside the gym. And yeah, there's some definite truth to that. You can overtrain. But lifting weights is not that taxing on your body, especially if it's broken up over 7 days. Now, if you're in the gym 7 days a week for 2 hours, that's probably not very productive. That's probably not very smart. But if you're in the gym for 45 minutes, 7 days a week, I don't see any problem with that. And I think staying on point and staying addicted to the fitness, I think, is healthier than the reverse of that. That's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge proponent of a ketogenic diet, is because the ketogenic diet tends to promote itself. The more that you're on a ketogenic diet, the longer that you are absent of carbohydrates, the easier it is to stay absent of those carbohydrates, the more comfortable you get with burning fat and running off of your body's own fuel source, really. The human body, I don't think it really cares what it's running off of. It's just going to run off of like whatever you give it and whatever it has. I kind of think that fat is a primary fuel source, and I think that carbohydrates are secondary. However, even after saying that, I only say that because evolutionarily it makes sense that we probably, for the most part, ran off of fats. You know, your body produces glucose. Your body will make sugar. That's how important it is to your body. It is a necessity to have carbohydrates, but it's not a necessity to have dietary carbohydrates. I think that's something that people maybe fail to understand. And there's some big differences, depending on what you're talking about, really. If we're talking about trying to thrive and having, a certain lifestyle that meets certain goals, then maybe for you personally, maybe you do need some dietary carbohydrates because you do want to bench 500 pounds or you do want to squat 1,000 pounds. And when I was in the prime of my powerlifting, I certainly did eat carbohydrates. You guys seen me, I was 330 pounds, but the ketogenic diet is something that promotes itself. It's something that it's hard to even get into ketosis. It takes about a week to even get into ketosis. And so once you get locked in and you pee on those keto sticks and you see that you have a purple reading, or you prick your finger and see that your ketones are above 0.5 millimolars. Once you kind of see that, or once you feel that you're in ketosis, you're not going to break it because your friend's eating a sandwich at lunch. You're going to be like, oh, screw it, I'll just fast until the next opportunity comes for me to eat a cheeseburger, or the next opportunity comes along for me to eat a steak. It took you 5 to 7 days to get into ketosis in the first place, so you're like, screw it, I'm just going to ride it out. Have you ever tried bee pollen? No. I've tried, I've tried almost every supplement you can think of. So, while someone asked about bee pollen, I'll just dive in and give you guys some information on supplementation. So I don't really know if the supplements that I take do anything for me. However, what happened is about 3 years ago, I got some blood work done. My blood work was terrible. It was like my blood work it was almost like I was just running off of tren. My blood work was really, really bad. I was really heavy. I was addicted to carbohydrates. I was 330 pounds. And I got some blood work done, and my boy Rhino, Stan the Rhino Efforting, vertical diet man, he was like, dude, like, this is bad, And so the first diet that I went on was a paleo diet. I then shifted into kind of a lower carb diet under the tutelage of my boy, Jesse Burdick. And I kind of dove into a keto diet, which I did in the mid 90s. And I reverted back to that with the help of Jesse Burdick and ended up losing a lot of weight. And in the process, getting my blood work a lot better. Now, what happened is I made an agreement with myself. I was like, I'm just going to get whatever supplements I need to get to help make my blood work register as being better. Now, I don't know if having your blood work register being better through supplementation and through some like tricks and stuff like that is even a worthwhile pursuit. However, that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, there's certain things you can take and it can have your liver look a little bit better on your test, but like, does that really mean your liver is exponentially that much healthier? Or is it the supplementation that's really just assisting that? Like, I don't really know these things, but I was willing to give it a shot because my blood work was so bad. And so what I did is I said, okay, you're going to take the vitamin C, you're going to take vitamin D3, you're going to take K2, you're going to take, I take a lot of magnesium. I'm trying to think, magnesium glycinate is the magnesium that I utilize. You're also going to have a lot of electrolytes in your diet and stuff like that too. So I take a product called Keto Vitals. You don't have to buy these particular products. These are just things that I have utilized because on a ketogenic diet, with the absence of carbohydrates, they hydrate your body. And in the absence of carbohydrates, you may feel depleted of water. You may feel like you're having a hard time holding on to water. And so magnesium and potassium and some of these things they become more important, become more vital, right? And so these are some of the things I agreed that I was going to do. And I was like, if I get my blood work back and my blood work is better, then I'm staying on these damn supplements forever. And that's exactly what happened. I got my blood work back and it was better. And then I took a few more recommendations from Stan, a few more recommendations from this guy and from this guy, a few more recommendations from this guy I had on podcasts and from that person. Zinc is supposed to help you with deeper sleep. I was like, I have a hard time with deep sleep. I got all, I need to really, I need to tell you guys about my sleeping problems. That is a whole separate video. It is absolutely ridiculous what I need to do to stay asleep. But I wake up frequently, and so I'm like, oh shit, zinc helps you, stay asleep. Magnesium helps you get to sleep. I'm like, I'm taking both of those, And so what happened was, and people can attest to this that have been to my house, my new house. Now I have everything kind of organized in a pantry, but before that time, I had everything all over the place. It was craziness. In my old house, I had supplements like just stacked, just supplement after supplement, pouring out of the pantry and all over the counter. And then I had like this side experiment going on with all these weird powders and all these other things. I was taking like acetyl L-carnitine, and I was taking this, I was taking that. But again, my blood work kept coming back better and better and better. And this person would say, hey, this is good for your heart, and this is good for this, and this is good for that. And so I just kept them all around. But bee pollen, back to answer your question, is not anything I ever got into or noticed anything from. But I believe that bee pollen, I think, has B vitamins in it. And B vitamins are supposed to be B vitamins are one of those that you're not supposed to really be able to OD on. You're supposed to, having a plethora of B vitamins is supposed to be quite healthy, but I don't really know. That's just some of this information is information I've gathered over the years. Vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 seem to work synergistically, and it's something that has kept me very healthy. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I haven't been sick in years, and I'm around people that are sick all the time. It probably has to do more with my diet than anything else. I believe it's because I don't do anything that insults my metabolism. I don't drink very often. I don't smoke. I don't eat a lot of sugar. Occasionally I will have a cheat meal here and there, but it's been a while because I'm enjoying this no carbs till Christmas pursuit, and hopefully some of you are enjoying that with me. Somebody else chimed in on my IG right now and just said, no carbs till Christmas. They're all pumped up. Is it really 0 carbs or what? Yes, you are trying to establish the lowest amount of carbohydrates that you can eat, in my opinion, especially to establish ketosis. Once ketosis is established, you can then start to have a little bit of carbohydrate here and there. What do I consider carbohydrate? Well, there's trace carbohydrates in just about everything that you eat. Even if you get like a cured meat, or if you get cheese, like sometimes there's like a tiny bit of carbs in there. There's gonna be carbs in like nuts and things like that. I would say avoid those things as you're trying to get into ketosis. But once you get into ketosis, it's okay to have some of those things. You might want to refer to a book called The Metabolic Diet, aka The Anabolic Diet, written by Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale years ago. He suggests that you can get into a 50 to 75 grams of carbohydrates per day regimen once you've already established that your body is fat adapted. Now, I have eaten like that before and had great success that way. It's kind of up to you on whether you want to give something like that a shot. What I found was hard to balance was, again, you start to have a surplus of energy that you're consuming. You start to eat too much on a particular diet like that. Like, so, for example, if you have a potato with dinner, it's very easy to lather that potato in a bunch of butter. And then you start to kind of have a higher carbohydrate amount kind of blended in with a higher fat content, which is a great recipe for gaining body fat a lot of times. But if you play around with it and you tweak it and twerk it just right, I think you can nail it, and you can have it be precise where you're kind of floating around ketosis, which another famous author talks about quite a bit. That's Mark Sisson. You're going to want to check out some information from Mark Sisson. He has outstanding information. And when you're looking up keto and you're trying to research it, this is something that I need to explain to everybody right here. Is I've been researching this stuff for 30 years. I've been a huge fan of what you're able to do with your body and how you're able to get yourself out of pain and out of disease. I've been a huge fan of that for 30 years. And so sometimes, when people see me talking about, I get pissed off because there's I think all the studies are crap, and they're just studying people that are unhealthy and studying people that are old and studying people that are fat, and who cares what those people eat. So the reason why I get frustrated with a lot of this stuff, it's not coming out of left field. I've been studying this stuff for a very, very long time, and I happen to know a lot about it. I am not like a lot of the other people that you listen to, though. I'm not like a Stan Efferding. Stan Efferding is an encyclopedia of information. I feel like I have more practical, more real-world information that you can utilize in your day-to-day. Not more so than Stan, but I think that that's my strength. And I think about someone like Thomas DeLauer. I'm not going to kick information to you like Thomas DeLauer because I'm not a researcher. Thomas DeLauer is going to give you real specifics, and he's going to say, hey, you should eat 77% fat, and he's going to say you should eat this percentage of this thing and this percentage of that thing. I don't operate that way. I don't work that way. Also, the other thing you're going to get from me too is I'm not going to flood you with information that I think is irrelevant. Some people are saying the quality of your meat is really, really important. Some people are trying to sell you on that fact, and I actually don't know how important it is or how important it isn't. And because of that, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say much about it. I'm not going to sit here and try to spit it to you or spin it to you in a different way because I don't know. I don't know if grass-fed beef makes a difference. I don't know if farm-raised or I don't know. Organic or if stuff's being sprayed. I personally I think that you want to go for the highest quality and the best option that you can afford as much as you can. But I also think it doesn't matter. And I also would argue that there's probably information that shows either way. There's probably information that shows you, look, man, it doesn't matter, where this fucking cow came from or how it ate, versus, how this other, maybe it doesn't matter if the cows have antibiotics or not, or maybe it doesn't matter if the cows have kind of sounds like a positive to me if the cows have steroids and the cows are more jacked. I don't know how it works, but I don't claim to know how it works either. Most of the trend and most of what people are saying and most of what they're communicating is that you should go after the healthier meat, that these animals shouldn't be fed antibiotics, and they shouldn't be fed steroids, and they shouldn't be fed anything other than grass. But I don't know where are the studies, where's the information showing that this is actually hurting people. Now, somebody's going to pull a bunch of studies out of their ass, right? And they're going to be like, yo, look at this, look at these papers. You know what those papers are going to show us? They're going to show us absolutely nothing. We can light those papers on fire, especially on a cold day like today. And we can keep ourselves warm with those papers because those papers are done and that information comes from people that eat a bunch of bullshit on top of eating the nitrates that's in the food, on top of eating food that's not grass-fed, right? These are people that have unhealthy behaviors, period. They don't even fucking lift, bro, right? So there's no reason to really listen to some of that information that's out there. Some of you guys might be aware, I want you guys to follow along with this. I started a thing called No Carbs Till Christmas, and I started it in November, and it's now December. But I'd love for those of you that are having trouble with your diet, I'd love for you to try it with me. I'd love for you to give it a shot because where we're sitting right now, it's 2-3 weeks from Christmas time, about 3 weeks from Christmas time or so. And I'd love for you guys to join in because I would love for you to understand and to learn how you feel from the absence of carbohydrates, not just the absence of carbohydrates, but the absence of carbohydrates and the increase in fats. What's the macronutrients for that? How many grams of fat should you have? How many of this, how many of that? Look, man, just eat a couple ribeyes and you're all set. And you don't really need to do any more math than that. You can have steak, you can have eggs, you can have fish, you can have chicken, but you want to make sure that you're eating enough fat and you're not eating too high of a content of protein. What's too high of a content of protein? I'll allow you to make that decision. If you're looking for any numbers at all, I don't like to really give them because I don't think that they matter, because I don't think your body doesn't respond from like one day to the next. Your body's not like, hey, it's a new day, so we have 0 calories, right? And then that's the way that we count calories though. I don't like calories. I don't count them. I don't track them. I don't track macros. I don't do any of that. I just eat foods that have fat in them. And I go after them with a ferocious appetite, and I utilize some intermittent fasting. But for this No Carbs Till Christmas, I would like you to utilize intermittent fasting. I would like you to utilize 10-minute walks. In addition to that, I would like you to consume some fatty foods to keep that fat content high, keep the protein a little bit more moderate. And again, I just want you to learn how you're supposed to feel when you get rid of all the junk. And once you start to get a hold of this and get a grasp of this, you'll feel really, really good. It might take about 2 weeks. I would say, a lot of people are like, oh man, the first couple of days I felt like shit. You're not supposed to feel like shit. You shouldn't feel like shit. If you're feeling like shit, it's because you're not eating enough. We're not trying to go low cal. We're not trying to not eat food. We want to eat food. We want to attack the food. We want to eat a lot of it. So eat a lot of food. Get used to the food. Once you get used to the food, then in week 2 or week 3, then you can say, okay, well, I was kind of eating day and night, right? And you can start to cut back on the eating, and you start to implement a little bit more intermittent fasting. But to start out with fasting, if you never fasted before, I would suggest cut out eating 2 hours before you go to bed and ditch breakfast. Cut out eating 2 hours before you go to bed and ditch breakfast. That's going to be the easiest way to implement some intermittent fasting, and one of the more effective ways. And then once you start to no longer be a white belt with your fasting, you can kind of move into things that are a little bit tougher, and you can start to ditch breakfast, and you can start to ditch lunch too, and you can make it a little bit more difficult. What do you say you're eating a much lesser amount of fat with the Piedmontese steaks. No, so even I'm sponsored by a company called Piedmontese. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. These are great steaks and they are lean. But no, I'm not, like, even with the Piedmontese steaks, I get the fattiest steaks that they got, and I still put butter all over them. So even with those leaner steaks, I'm still, keeping it keto. I'll cook them in coconut oil. I'll cook them in beef tallow or olive oil, something like that, and then I'll finish them off with some salt and finish them off with some butter on them to keep those fat cows real high. How long do you fast? I typically will fast anywhere between 14 to 20 hours a day. Now, it's not always a regular fast. Sometimes it's what I like to call a coffee fast, aka a bulletproof coffee fast. A bulletproof coffee fast is in reference to adding coconut oil and or MCT oil and butter to your coffee. I usually add in MCT oil powder from Perfect Keto. I'll put that in there and I'll blend it up. It just adds some really good flavor. Now, even with that, because that's not a natural thing to do, I try not to do that too often. But sometimes fasting is just a pain in the ass. And one thing I'll warn you about fasting is sometimes it's accumulative. So if you fast for 4 days in a row, 16 hours a pop, on day 4 you're gonna be like, oh man, this is going to be tough. It's because it accumulates, it stacks up on itself. So you might want to just fast to start out with fasting for yourself. Start out with 12-hour fast. Do what I just mentioned. Cut out eating 2 hours before bed. And then in addition to cutting out eating 2 hours before bed, and maybe even just have an earlier breakfast. You can kind of look at it that way. Have an earlier breakfast and skip breakfast. Have an earlier dinner and skip your breakfast. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. Set that dinner back about 2 hours earlier, and then skip your breakfast, and that'll be plenty of fasting. But again, I don't really count much. I just kind of like eat when the opportunity comes, and I try to push it off. I starve it off for as long as I can. I'm like, oh shit, this thing got in my way. Oh shit, this thing got in my way. But I kind of like let things get in my way. I don't stop anybody and say, oh man, hey bro, I really need to eat. I just keep letting things like be in the way on purpose, and then I'm occupied enough. Something I learned is that it's actually pretty difficult to fast when you don't have anything to do. So on days that you don't have much to do, I would just say just have that be a regular day of eating, because it's almost too much of a pain in the ass. Okay, the last thing I want to address on here. Somebody popped on here. Somebody popped on my Instagram. Hopefully none of you people are popping up on my YouTube being jerks. But no, this guy wasn't really a jerk, but he wrote in and said, or you could just have a balanced diet. Come on, dude. How many people have been taught to have a balanced diet? How many people have been taught to eat in moderation? It's not working. People are sick. People are fat. With all the information that's out there now, I said it before, I'll say it again, there's more information out there today than there's ever been. There's more gyms in the United States. There's more studies being done all the time at all these universities. There's more smart people talking on Instagram. There's more smart people talking on YouTube. There's more people giving out more free information, just like I'm doing right now. And what else is there more of? There's more people that are fucking fat, that are addicted to food. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't know how to change their life forever. They don't know how to stop being addicted to food. They are highly addicted to food, and then we'll have somebody like yourself come in and say, you should just have a balanced diet. They can't have a balanced diet. They can't control themselves to have a balanced diet. If you tell them that they can eat rice, they're going to eat a teriyaki bowl every single day. If you tell them that they can have rice, they're going to have a burrito every day. If you tell them that they can have corn, they're going to eat tortilla chips. I mean, anyone that you ever give a nutrition plan to, I know this firsthand because I've helped thousands and thousands of people over the years. Anyone that you give a nutrition plan to, or anyone that you give a workout routine to, what are they going to do? They're going to cut corners. That's what people do. We all are guilty of cutting corners. You know who else cuts corners? Me. That's how I know people are going to cut corners. When my friend Jesse Burdick has given me lifting routines and given me plans and given me things to try for a while, he knows full well he'll write the plan out with the understanding that I'm going to cheat. He knows that I'm going to cut a corner. He knows I'm not going to do this movement or that movement. Or he knows if he puts something too late in the workout that I'm not going to do it. That's the genius of coaching, and that's something that needs to be understood. And so when I give out some of these harsh realities and I tell you don't eat any carbs, that there's a war on carbs, there needs to be a war on carbs. It's because I know that you're still going to cheat on your diet. I know that you're still going to slip up. I know that you're still going to mess up. So if you read my book, The War on Carbs, if you check that out, when are you supposed to have a cheat day on the war on carbs in my book? Like, you know, what did I write in the book? What I wrote in the book was, it's not planned. It's not planned because I want you to go as many days as you can. I know that you're probably going to mess up anyway. I think that what people view as consistency is actually kind of a myth. Consistency really doesn't exist until you figure out your path and until you get really strong and really comfortable with what you're doing. But before that, consistency looks inconsistent. And you feel like you don't have anything. You feel like you don't have any footing. You feel like what you're doing doesn't matter, and you feel like what you're doing is not making a difference, and you get upset about it, and you get sad about it, and it breaks your heart because you're like, man, I just keep letting myself down over and over and over again. I know this shit because I've been 330 pounds. Who else are you listening to that has been in shape, that has been that fat before, and that has been in this kind of shape before, or who's squatted 1,080, benched 854, benched 578. I benched 225 for 40 reps when I was a teenager, before I ever took anything. I have trained myself and I have taken myself to all these different places and have done all these different things through food. You know, some people will say, oh, you know, there's not really a correlation that people are really addicted to food the same way they're addicted to other things. Well, look, man, I don't need to walk into a Walmart, you know, walk into a Walmart and tell me people aren't addicted to food. They're addicted to food. It's quite obvious. And all I'm trying to do is help. And I believe that the RX, I believe that the prescription is through a ketogenic diet and through intermittent fasting and through getting in some walks. Hopefully we can get some people into the gym and get people to lift some weights too because of the value that that holds. But that's a little bit tougher of a sales pitch. Anyway, I'm going to get the hell out of here. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Please, in the comments below, let me know what else you want to see from me. We're down to do just about anything when it comes to, you know, talking about business, when it comes to talking about nutrition, when it comes to talking about lifting. And let me know what you're thinking of these videos. We're loving the attention that we're getting for having this new YouTube channel at Mark Smelly Bell. We really appreciate all the subscribers. Make sure you share this out with your friends. Make sure you tell them about it because we're all in this together. We're all trying to make the world a better place to lift. And if I'm going to make the world a better place to lift and we're going to show people how to lift through it, I need your help. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you all later.